You are right on the edge of sleep, drifting, soft, almost gone. And then, out of nowhere, your whole body violently jolts. That horrible falling feeling, like the ground just vanished beneath you, and you snap wide awake, heart pounding, gasping a little. But you were not falling. You were lying safely in bed. Nothing happened. So why does your body throw you off a cliff that does not exist at the exact moment you are finally about to fall asleep? It turns out there is a genuinely fascinating answer, and it goes all the way back to a time before we even lived on the ground. Let me explain. Let me start by calming the small fear this might have planted. When this happens, a lot of people quietly worry that something is wrong, that it is a sign of stress or bad sleep, or that their body is glitching in some concerning way. And I want to take that off the table right now. This is one of the most normal things a human body does. It is so common that the majority of people experience it. It has a proper name, the hypnic jerk, sometimes called a sleep start, and it is not a malfunction at all. It is a completely normal little hiccup in the strange, messy process of falling asleep. And once you understand what is actually happening, that midnight jolt goes from scary to genuinely interesting. So here is the plan. I am going to show you 3 things in order. First, what is actually going on in your brain in the moments you drift off. Second, why the jolt happens, the real mechanism behind that falling feeling. And third, the fascinating and slightly ancient reason your body might do this in the first place. Let's start with falling asleep itself. The first thing to understand is that falling asleep is not a switch. It is a handover. We tend to imagine sleep like flipping a light off, 1 second awake, the next second out. But that is not how it works at all. Falling asleep is a gradual, surprisingly clumsy handover of control from the system that keeps you awake and alert to the system that runs sleep. Your muscles begin to relax, your breathing slows, your brain activity starts to change, and different parts of you power down at slightly different times, not all at once. For a little while, you are in a strange in-between zone, not fully awake and not fully asleep, with the 2 systems overlapping and jostling for control. And it is right there in that messy transition that the hypnic jerk lives. Here is the example you know intimately, that specific feeling of drifting, that lovely soft slide towards sleep, and then the sudden jarring snap that yanks you right back to full alertness. You are not deeply asleep and you are not fully awake. You are caught in the handover exactly where the 2 systems can trip over each other. That in-between state even has its own strange little world. It is called hypnagogia, the dreamy border zone right before sleep, and it is where all sorts of odd things quietly bubble up. Random images, a voice saying your name, a flash of color, the feeling of floating, or the sudden lurch we were talking about. Your brain is halfway into the dream world and halfway still in the room, and the results can get genuinely weird. The hypnic jerk is just the most physical, most startling resident of that borderland. And here is the warning, or really the reassurance, that in-between clumsiness is not a sign that your sleep is broken. It is just what the doorway into sleep actually looks like from the inside. A little rickety, a little imperfect, for basically everyone. But that still does not explain the jolt itself. Why a violent muscle spasm, and why that awful sense of falling? For that, we have to look at what your brain does with a very specific signal. The second thing is that the jolt happens because your half-asleep brain misreads your own body. Here's the leading explanation, and it is beautifully simple. As you slide toward sleep, your muscles start to go slack, releasing their tension so your body can rest. But sometimes that relaxation happens a little too suddenly, a little too fast. And your brain, which is still partly online, still half awake and monitoring things, feels that abrupt loss of muscle tension and misinterprets it. It does not read it as, we are just relaxing into sleep. It reads it as something has gone wrong. We are losing control. We might be falling. So it does what any good survival system would do. It fires off an emergency jolt, a sudden burst of muscle activity meant to catch you, to snap you back to alertness. Right now, that jolt is your brain slamming the brakes on a fall that is not actually happening. And here is the strange, almost magical detail. Very often, that jolt comes wrapped in a vivid little flash of a dream, the sensation of missing a step, tripping, or falling off a ledge. That is not a coincidence, and it is not a premonition. Your brain feels the jolt and the sense of falling first, and then a fraction of a second later, it scrambles to invent a quick story to explain the sensation it just had. So it generates a tiny falling dream, backwards, to make sense of a feeling that already happened. You are watching your own brain write an instant excuse for its own hiccup. I get the classic version, missing the last step on a staircase. Every single time, for a split second, I am fully convinced I have just stumbled in real life, and I have actually grabbed the mattress to steady myself. In bed, lying flat, in no danger whatsoever. My brain built an entire tiny staircase, made me miss the bottom step, and got my hand to shoot out and catch me, all in the time it takes to blink. It is honestly impressive in a deeply annoying way. And this is genuinely why I make this channel. So a quick thing, if you enjoy having the weird machinery of your own body explained like this, take 1 second and subscribe. Okay, because now we get to the best question of all. Why would a brain be wired to do this at all? The third thing, and the part that stays with you, is that this might be an ancient reflex, left over from when falling asleep was genuinely dangerous. Here's the idea that a lot of people find the most compelling, though I will be honest that it is a theory, not settled fact. Think about our distant ancestors, the ones who slept up in trees, high off the ground to stay safe from predators. For them, the moment of drifting off carried a very real risk. If your muscles went completely slack while you were perched on a branch, you could actually fall, a long and possibly fatal drop. So imagine how useful it would be to have a built-in reflex that, at the exact instant your muscles suddenly relaxed, jolted you awake to check, wait, are we secure? Is it actually safe to let go here? A quick, involuntary safety check run every night at the threshold of sleep. Now, I want to be straight with you because you will see this idea stated online as if it is proven fact, and it is not. It is a hypothesis, a very compelling one, but genuinely hard to test, since we cannot exactly interview our tree-sleeping ancestors about it. Other researchers think it is simpler than that, just the crossed wires of an overloaded nervous system as it powers down, with no deeper story behind it at all. The honest answer is that we are not fully sure. But whether it is an ancient reflex or just a wiring hiccup, the one thing everyone agrees on is that it is harmless. And that reflex may still be with us, firing faithfully every night, even though you are now lying on a soft mattress, indoors, with zero chance of plummeting out of a tree. Your ancient survival wiring cannot quite tell the difference between a branch and a bed. So it still runs its old routine, double checking that it is safe to fully let go one last time before it allows you to drop into sleep. And here's the warning worth knowing. Practical part. These jerks get more frequent and more intense when you are overtired, stressed, full of caffeine, or falling asleep in an awkward position, all things that keep your alert system firing when it should be winding down. So if you are getting a lot of them lately, that is often just your body telling you it is running too hot at bedtime. So let me pull this together. You learned that the hypnic jerk is a completely normal event that happens in the clumsy handover between being awake and being asleep, not a malfunction and not a sign that anything is wrong. You learned that it happens because your still half-awake brain feels your muscles suddenly relaxing, misreads it as falling, and fires an emergency jolt to catch you, often inventing a quick falling dream afterward to explain the feeling. And you learned the fascinating possibility that this is an ancient survival reflex, a leftover from ancestors who really could fall while they slept, still running its safety check in your perfectly safe modern bed. And here's the part I want you to keep. That terrifying jolt, that sudden falling feeling that yanks you awake, is not a warning that something is wrong with you. It is very likely the opposite. An old, faithful protective reflex firing at the threshold of sleep, your body quietly double-checking that it is safe to let go before it lets you drift away. It is not your system breaking. It is a piece of very old, very caring wiring, still on duty, catching you from a fall that has not been a real danger for a very long time. There is something almost sweet about that framing, honestly. A tiny, ancient part of you, one that has never quite gotten the memo that you are safe now, still standing guard at the edge of every single night, making absolutely sure before it finally lets you rest. It is a little annoying, sure, but it has been quietly looking out for your ancestors, and now you, for a very, very long time. And if you want fewer of them, the answer is gentle. Ease off the caffeine late in the day, calm your wind down, and give your alert system a real chance to power down before you lie down. So the next time you are almost asleep and your whole body suddenly lurches, do not panic and do not worry. Just smile a little, because now you know that is your inner caveman, perched in an imaginary tree, checking one last time that you are not about to fall before finally, gently letting you go. So tell me down in the comments, because I know almost everyone has felt this. How often do you get these? And what is the falling dream that usually comes with yours? The missed step, the trip, the drop off a ledge. And has anyone ever jolted so hard they actually kicked or flailed and startled someone next to them? Tell me below. And if you want another one of these truths about the strange machine you live inside, go watch the one on why you get deja vu, because that is the same brain, misreading another one of its own signals in an even weirder way. I'll see you over there, and sleep well, hopefully in one piece.